Hello, welcome to Above Life Channel. The purpose here is to inspire your spirit and to fill you with hope. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? How are we doing? How are we doing? Here, let me see if I can slide my thing over here. Hi. Hey. Let's start our week out. I know it's been a while since I've done like a Monday video on purpose. Woo! Hi. Okay, so for those of you who are new here, Above Life Channel is usually a lot about celebrity afterlife channeling, but the purpose of that is to inspire you, is to get you to utilize your intuition, to start to understand energy and how that works, how you can connect with spirit guides, how you can connect with angels, how you can connect with totem animals, how you can connect with your loved ones in the afterlife, how you can connect with anyone in the afterlife if you choose to do that. And so that's what the purpose of Above Life Channel is to empower you. Like I say, to inspire your spirit and then also to fill you with hope. This is an uplifting connection and channeling. This isn't about depression as far as like energy goes with the psychically connecting. I don't want to bring in heavy energies. I don't want to focus on really negative things in the world and also with people. So I don't do channeling that brings us down per se. However, we do have a realistic approach to life here. The whole point of spirituality and spiritual connection, I believe, and understanding your intuition and understanding energy and how that all works is to apply it to your human life. So if you're just using spirituality or intuition or psychic stuff as escapism, it's just like drinking a drink or a few too many or smoking some weed or whatever that is for you. It's a vice. Or eating too much food that is not good for you, like really bad for you stuff. Whatever that is for you, that's what spirituality does. That's what intuition does. That's what psychic work does. If you're not utilizing it in your practical day-to-day life. So I'm just going to do a sound check for those of you who are live on this live stream here on Above Life Channel. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? I'm actually recording on my cell phone, which is a little different, but I'm in my townhouse right now. And so that has been an adventure this weekend. I've been at the townhouse for the last few days and nights. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. And because of that, I have been doing a lot of stairs. And so, I've definitely feeling the vibe of the stairs. Let me just tell you, I certainly have. But I have a couple of little puppy friends, doggy friends. I have Tucker, who is here, who you've seen before, that little beautiful cinnamon colored little pooch. Just the cutie pie. He's an 8-year-old mix of a poodle and I believe maybe it's not a Shih Tzu. He is a mix of, I think, a Maltese. He's so sweet. He's such a diva. I adore him. And he likes me too. I think he likes me because he doesn't have to be in his kennel during the day when I'm here. So I'm blessed to be able to be here for these couple days and spend some time here. So yeah. All right. So there's been a lot of celebrity transitions during the last couple months while I have been recovering from my open heart surgery. If you're not aware or familiar, I had an aortic dissection, which is a pretty intensive, life-threatening experience, and most people do not survive from it. So I am very fortunate and grateful to be able to be here. And it's also brought forward for me the people in my life that I am so appreciative for, some very dear friends of mine that I'm very, very thankful for. And I love you guys. I'm going to actually say their names: Rebecca, Sandra as well, Dyke as well, and my sister Maria, and there are others as well, Angie. There are others of you as well that have checked on me, that have just helped me keep my sanity while I've been stationary and sedentary a bit. I'm just off of my 7th week post-surgery, and so I'm doing pretty well. And I have my moments for sure. And saw the cardiologist last week. If you watch my videos, you know that. So tomorrow I actually have cardiac rehab for the first time. So I'm looking forward to that. I need to get some activity going because this girl is not used to just sitting on the couch. That's for sure. It's very frustrating. And as you know too, like your head starts to think too much and you start to get a little bummed out about things and start to think about the past and think about what you can't do and get all kind of bummed out. And I don't need any more seasonal depression is enough. I don't need extra depression stuff. I did also share recently that this time last year, I was dealing with very real depression and finally got some assistance in the first part of the year, this year. And so that's a very real thing. And a lot of people aren't aware of that because a lot of us who are dealing with those things, we hide it very well. For sure. For different reasons, but we do hide it very well. Plus we carry that weight and that burden ourselves because we feel like there's something wrong with us. Because why can't we just be happy? We have a good life. What's wrong with us? Why can't we just be content? That kind of thing. So if you're feeling like that, make sure you get assistance and help. There are lots of support groups online. There are also counselors, therapists, licensed clinical social workers that I encourage you to reach out to. Some employers have EAP or employee assistance programs you can reach out to. If you don't have health insurance, sometimes that's an option for you. Also, your friends and family, make sure you tell people. Don't be ashamed. It's not worth it. It's not worth hiding it. It's just not. Most people feel the same way, you know? So anyway. All right. So today, I am just going to make a nod at Matthew Perry because I have talked about him before. I've alluded to him before. When I was actually at the Cape Cod Medical Center, just after I think it was right after I had my surgery, that was when Matthew Perry died. And in fact, my sister, I think, and I were talking about it briefly. And I said, it was his heart. And she said, oh, they don't know yet. I said, no, it was his heart. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, oh, it's just this interesting phenomena that's happened for me where my psychicness is different than it's been before. And it's really grounded and very rooted. It's coming for me through the root chakra, through the earth energies, through the time that is now. And it's very much with this wisdom of my ancestry, of my past lives. And it just feels really solid in a different way. Instead of outside of me getting information, it's just kind of coming in a way that is very steady and just certain. Like I just kind of know stuff, and it's like not even coming through my brain in the way that an ego mind might trip you up kind of thing. As a psychic, that can be a really big deal. Like you have to kind of really check your ego, and I'm a human. And so I always would have experiences where I'm like, oh, is this my ego? Am I getting triggered personally? Or is this a true thing that I'm feeling? And I really questioned that over the last 2 years during my own personal experience and all the trauma that I went through and the dark night of the soul that I personally went through that I talked a little bit about. I will share that story with you. I am planning to do that. But I think I'm going to do it, as Brene Brown would say, with people who've earned the right to hear your story. Not just with anyone, with people who will understand and want to have some of that medicine, that integrated energy for themselves. And so I plan to share that, but I plan to do it in a private setting. So yeah, but there's just so much that I think, I'm getting like a little hit here. So the energy, I'll talk about that. With Matthew Perry is, there was an understanding that he wouldn't live a full life, like a long life, because he really had experiences in his body, with his body, that made it a little vulnerable to some, physically, like, right, health stuff, right? So unfortunately, when you do experience things like addiction or especially long-term addiction, it can create some definite health trauma or health impacts, right? Ripple effects. And so with him, that is indeed the case. And so it was just interesting because he passed away from the heart stuff. And so too did Christopher. I can't think of his last name. Oh, anybody watch General Hospital back in the day? The actor that played Nicholas Cassadine. Yeah, you know that guy. Oh yeah, you know that guy, right? Christopher somebody or other. He also died of a heart issue, like suddenly. And so there seems to have been in October and early November kind of that little vibe going on about the heart space. And that makes sense because as a world, as a humanity collectively, you and I have been talking about the empathic energies. And I have been sharing with you some of the things that I have been learning and discovering from this experience for myself about that and how important our heart health is, not even just physically, but how energetically and emotionally we're impacting ourselves physically. And so digesting intensive, stressful content or information or triggers, fear-based advertising or political stuff, or literally bombarded with ads during the holiday season, it is not healthy for us. I'm telling you, it is just not. Like this fear of missing out and not being good enough. It is everywhere and it's rampant. And it's not like, when's the new marketing going to come out? Because this is just not, it's not healthy for any of us, especially empathic people. It's just not healthy. And so we have to do our best to realign in a way that we can participate in society and engage, but do it in a way that is safe for us, for our health, you know? So there are precautions and things that we can do, not out of fear, but out of empowerment, out of a healthy attitude about energy, about energetics, and about our hearts, not about this despair and fear about wars and trauma, but about this sense of renewed hope and replanting seeds of light and love and not darkness, not victimhood, but understanding that those things exist and they coexist, and so too does hope and inspiration. And it's not a bypass to just focus on the good. And it's not like I'm ignorant to the horrible things that are going on in the world, but I'm choosing to focus my energy on where I can influence, where I can impact, which is having conversations with you. So when I'm talking about the energy with Matthew Perry, my sister and I were talking about how she said she couldn't even watch Friends. She hasn't been able to watch it because of him, because of his light and his energy. And it just feels so sad. And there's so much grief because his legacy is in part wrapped up with so many of us in certain times in our lives, like music does, and so too does sitcoms or television or movies. They define a time in our lives. So what time in your life did Friends come in? And you might be somebody in a newer generation that just discovered it during the COVID time or the pandemic time, because I guess it got really popular then. But for me, it was during college, like Thursday nights, like 7:00. We used to always watch it. We always watched it. It was a thing. It was so funny. And when Monica and Chandler got together, it was like, what? But it kind of made sense. But it was like, what? You know, his kind of crazy, silly kind of perspective and her like super like intense, high, strong energy. It was a good balance. You know, I think it gave people encouragement, you know, for, hey, people who are different can totally be couples, you know. Plus, there's a lot of things that came out about him, I guess. My sister shared with me that when Michael J. Fox started his foundation based upon the illness, you know, his illness and stuff, the Parkinson's diagnosis, that early on, that Matthew Perry was one of the initial contributors and helped them launch the foundation, but he didn't want any notoriety from it. So it didn't make a big deal of it. It was just kind of a quiet thing. And so I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool. That's the kind of person he was. So I think with the Matthew Perry energy, it's about legacy. It's about the impact you can make. I mean, I know he was young, like 52 or 54. But so I'm 50 right now this year. In a couple months, I'm going to be 51. But I have been thinking about that and time. How much time do we have? Because I think sometimes people are like, oh, we'll meet again someday if it's meant to be. Or, oh, it'll all work out someday. It's like, no, someday's today. Because if you're waiting, you're going to have regrets, deep regrets that might echo for you into your next lifetime. And that's just really not a good scenario to have. So do not wait. Don't hold yourself back by what makes sense or what fits into the nice, neat little box or some fantasy that you have in your mind of this kind of connection. Don't wait. Because like I've learned, time is not guaranteed. And the opportunity to say goodbye is not a given. And I'm fortunate because I know that the people that I love know that I love them. And I felt really good about that, really strong about that when I recognized that when I was going into my surgery and I was making phone calls, I wasn't sharing with people the truth about what was happening, that this was life or death, and this might be the last time I'm talking to you. And I didn't have that perspective because I think I wouldn't allow myself to. And also, I had to process that in a half an hour. And so the brain I just couldn't believe that was even possible for me, that I could die. Then I'm like, what have I left unsaid? I didn't have that moment to even think about it, you guys. It happened so damn fast. And now I'm thinking about it. What was left unsaid? And so at this age that I'm at in my life, also, this year's been just one hell of a year. Let me tell you, so was last year. It's like, fuck. 49 and 50 about killed me, man, let me tell you. But it's because of my own self, because of what I was holding on to, what I was making things mean, or what I was focusing on and redirecting into other people when really it was about me. If I would have been focusing on me, then I could have been healthier. I could have been more aligned in my heart space and more unconditional in my love toward myself, instead of making all these excuses for the people around me or my relationships the way they were, instead of owning the part of me that needed love and just feeling so bad about being treated badly or not having that, or people not getting me or not understanding me or not knowing how great I am. They just don't know how great I am. Having those experiences, now I can look at that and be like, what has been left unsaid? And to say it. And I told my friends since that time, and I've talked to my friends more often now, because I'm like, thank you for being there for me. I appreciate your support and your love. I know, like I had a friend that was like ready to get on a plane for me, like, what do you need? I will be there, kind of thing. And a friend that was willing to and ready to take care of me in her home. And she did, and that was so wonderful, such a wonderful experience. And just, and having my husband get on a plane and be by my side, as we are family. And we're not legally divorced yet, but been moving through the whole separation process and, having some of those conversations before all this stuff was happening. Everything is just like, oh my gosh, I'm moving into the townhouse and all this stuff's happening in the last few months. And then all of a sudden this happens. And without question, I'm like, can you come? And he's like, yes, absolutely. So he gets on a plane and comes and is by my side, and is such a calming presence for me and such a gift for me. And I'm like, I would be there for you in a heartbeat. And I was too when he had gallbladder surgery the month before. I'm not kidding. He had gallbladder surgery and I had heart surgery like within a month of each other. Oh my God, crazy. And so, but we would always be there for each other, and we know that, and we showed it. And there's such a deep, deep love there. Talk about unconditional. that I am forever eternally grateful for. And there's so much that shows up for you when you're in these times, that to express that to you, to tell you, don't wait. Like, look at Matthew Perry. Okay. Did he wait? Is there somebody, because I was thinking, I'm like, is there somebody he was in love with and he didn't tell? He never had kids. Did he have pets? Did he have, all these things? Like, do you have regrets? Do you have, and he's like he says, nothing can be done about it, is what he's saying to me. And it's interesting. He's calling me Bridgette, which is interesting because I have two names that I use right now. Some people know me as Brighton. Some people know me as Bridgette. It depends on what platform you're connecting with me on, which community you're connecting with me through. And he calls me Bridgette. He said, it doesn't matter. He said, it doesn't matter. He said, it doesn't matter. What matters is today. He says, tell them it's about today. It's about today. No matter what you've done in the past, no matter what excuses you have in your head that's keeping you from doing something, he said, that's on you, is basically what he's saying. It's like, that's you. That's yours. That's not the person that hurt you. That's not the boss that didn't recognize your potential and didn't give you the promotion. That's not the role you got in a movie that you wanted. He said, it's not about other people. It's about you. And he says, you're playing that out. You are playing that out. He says, that's your responsibility. That's on you. I'm like, the thing that's interesting to me, Matthew, is that, like, for me, so this experience happened for me when I was 50, and my Tucker, and my father died when he was 52. And so I'm getting to this place where I've asked myself before too, like, what would I do if I only had, like, when I turned 50 this year, I was talking to my sister and we were in Disney World in February. And I was like, I'm thinking about dad. I said, hey, I know it's nobody taking anything. I think it's UPS. It looks like UPS with packages. Yeah, that's what it looks like. You're just going to have to forgive me. It's Tucker. He's like, shh. Tucker, you're okay. Shh. Come here. So we were talking in February about it, and I said, I think about what would I do if I only had 2 years left to live. I had no idea that later in the same damn year I would be in that position. Just a minute, let me grab him. Here, buddy. Come here. You come sit by me. Oh, I can lift you now. I can lift you because you're like, what, 6 pounds? Here he is. He's like, what? He just wants to see outside. Hey, can you say hello? Can you say hello? This is Tucker. Tuck. Tucker, say hello to the people. Oh, you see the guy, huh? Oh, don't worry. He's going to go. I know. He's going to go. Yeah, I know. Oh, he's got more. Does he got more? Oh, he's going to open more up. Oh. Oh, I don't know. I'm telling you. Shh, it's okay. It's okay. He doesn't know what's going on. He's like, what the heck? It's all about that perspective, isn't it? Like, what really matters to you, And what is your... Okay, I know. He's being a very good protector, isn't he? I'm sorry. I know for some of you the noise is going to be annoying, but this is just life. I'm grateful that he's here because he is such a sweetheart and he's helped me so much in my healing. I just love this little guy. If you want to have a voice, you have a voice. This is Above Life channel. You have a voice. I'm going to say hello to the chat here. Whoa, almost lost you guys. Hello to the chat. I can't actually, do I have my glasses? Yes, I do. Let me pop them on. Okay. Hello, Susan. Hey, Susan, hello. Said hello to Tucker. Hi, Deja. Looking forward to talking to you on Wednesday. Ooh. I can't see everybody. Hallie, hi. Nice to see you. Oh, my goodness. Nice to see you. Sherry, nice to see you. Hey, Gracie. Grace, nice to see you. Anna, nice to see you again. Nice to see you, everybody in the chat and everybody on the replay. Nice to see you as well. So it's been an interesting experience, and it's like, I think like with the thing with Matthew Perry, it's so sad and everybody can connect to it, and feeling into that part of your life when Friends was on, when you're connected. Do you guys remember he was in, was it Fools Rush In? Is that the name of with Salma Hayek, the movie? I loved that movie. It was so cute. He feels very, I don't want to say contemplative. Let me see. He feels a bit like his character Chandler, I gotta say. Is there anything that you particularly miss? He's saying, this is so weird. I don't know if he's being funny or what. It looks like a popsicle, but a double popsicle, like some kind of ice cream treat. I don't know what exactly it is, but there's some kind of, I don't think it's a dreamsicle. It looks like a chocolate ice cream treat, like an ice cream bar or something, not a fudge-sicle, but something like that. I don't know. There's some kind of ice cream treat that looks like a big popsicle thing. He's also saying something about like Key West and like riding bikes in Key West or something. I feel like he had an issue with alcohol. I don't know that I remember that, but he's talking to me about drinking too much. He's like literally showing me Margaritaville and stuff. I don't know what the deal with that is. He's saying like blackout drunk kind of thing. I know that he had some issues with like pain meds and stuff. He's saying my back, some kind of a back thing or back injury. I don't know. And then he shows me skiing. And he says, he's literally showing me this life isn't to be played with. He says, you can't tempt fate. He says, you cannot tempt fate. It doesn't work like that. So is there like a fated experience for us? Is there like a track that we're following that we're like, he says, well, he said, like kind of like a racetrack. He said, it looks like a racetrack. Actually, you know what it reminds me of is like bobsleds, you guys, like on those tracks, like at the top of a hill and you go sliding down, but they're on a track and it's like really, really fast, kind of like that. He says it's not a race to the finish, but we've been conditioned to see life that way. Like it's this big hurry, this big rush. And he said, it's not that. He said, yeah, he's sharing things like taking it for granted and not having enough time. Do you feel like you had enough time? He says, I don't know that anybody would feel like they have enough time, he says, but he says, I feel like I was on borrowed time. He says, I should have been dead multiple times. He said several times I should have been dead. And then he's showing me like a car accident or being like passed out behind the wheel of a car or something. So I don't know if any of this stuff is like documented, like if somebody caught him or what, but he's showing me not being all there, all connected. So the issues with like addiction, what would you say about addiction that can maybe help people, especially during this time of year? He says, get help. He says, you cannot do it alone. You cannot. You think you can. He says, oh, I know. Everybody thinks they can. He says, I know. I was one of those people. He says, you can't. You need a sober coach. You need counselors. You need a treatment program. Check yourself into some place. He says, don't make the mistake of being foolish enough to think that you can lick it on your own. He said, you can't. He says, what got you into this mess in the first place is something much deeper and darker than you can imagine. to try to come out of that is like some kind of superhero stuff. He says that's not realistic. That's not even close to realistic. He says you can't do that. You just can't. You just can't. And he says you just have to check yourself and realize that your health, your mental health, and your physical health is more important than what other people think about you, he says. And if they have a problem with you and they're going to judge you, then they're not for you. They're not in your corner. They're not people you should have in your life anyway. He said, if you're not supported by them, then why are they part of your life? Why? They'll sooner or later they'll come around if they just don't. If it's simply a situation where they don't understand, he says you can educate them. They can be educated on the process and understand that from that perspective. But they can also say, I don't understand, but I support you. He says those are your people. He says those are the go-tos. Other people are not, because they can't. He says sometimes people just can't bring themselves to think of you as somebody that needs them because they need you. He says they can kind of project onto you some image that if you don't fit that mold, then they can't handle that. He says, but those aren't your people because they're just not ready to be healthy people in a way that is in a state where you're at. He says, then you're going to need that when you come out of treatment. You're going to need that when you come out the other end. After you have some months under your belt of sobriety, he says you're going to need people that will support you, and they won't be on your case in a way that is hypocritical or judgmental or he's like judging you kind of a thing. He said you can't feel like that with people. It's not going to help you. It's not a healthy relationship. He says that's the most important thing, is to have relationships that are honest. And if you can't be honest with people, then you have to get over yourself and not be afraid to lose people. He says you have to not be afraid to lose people, because he says the truth is that you lost people when you were using. That's when you lose people, is during that time, because you're not yourself. He says you're somebody else. You're so many other somebody else's, he said. So when you're healthy, those are the kind of people you want in your life, and your relationships will get healthy as well, he says. So, and that's not to judge people, he says. That's not to judge people. Some people just need to be educated, and they just need to see, and they need to believe. They need to see some evidence from you, he said, because if you've done this like 4 times, like they're gonna be a little cautious, he says. Don't kick them to the curb so fast. He said they're gonna need to kind of feel things out, he says, because they don't want to be hurt again. He says it's not because they don't love you or care. It's because they don't want to be hurt again. He says that's normal. It's okay. Give them some space. He says don't count people out. He says let yourself forgive people and let them come back into your life. He says if they come around, allow that. He said because you're going to want that kind of forgiveness from people too. He said you're really going to want that. So thank you, Matthew Perry. That was a nice conversation. All right. So it is lovely to be able to connect with you here on Above Life channel. I look forward to connecting with you again. I'm going to try to do some more live streams this week. I do have some busyness. I have some appointments and things, and I'm just starting to try to slowly and gently catch up on sessions that I missed in October and November. And it feels kind of overwhelming. So I'm going to try to do just a couple a week to catch up, because then I also need to make money and start working again, because that's tough not to have that income. So I'm going to try to get back in alignment, but I'm going to do it in a way that's healthy for me too, of course. Nice balance there. So I thank you so much for supporting the work that I do here on Above Life channel. And I look forward to connecting with you again. Of course, as always, I hope I've inspired your spirit and filled you with some hope today and encouraged you to live your life. This is your life after all, and you get to live it. And I would so love for you to live it. Just live it. Thanks for being here. Thanks, chat. Appreciate you.